Hello, my name's George Smith. I have the pleasure of serving as the director of Michigan State University AgBioResearch, leading the research enterprise for the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources and the bulk of the broader MSU community in the area of agriculture and food systems and the environment. I'm pleased to be joined today by my good friend and colleague, Mark Seamon, the research director for the Michigan Soybean Committee, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun the next 15, 20 minutes talking about the soybean industry in the state of Michigan, the importance of research, supporting the industry that Mark's involved with, and some of the challenges and opportunities for the future. So, Mark, welcome.
Thank you, George. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, so let's dive right in and throw a few things out there for discussion. So maybe could you describe how MSU research currently supports the goals and or decision-making process within the soybean industry in Michigan?
Between the university and the Michigan Soybean Committee, uh, the really a lot of similar goals. One of the things that our seven-member farmer board think is very important is sustainability. And that is just generally because most of these farms are multi-generational. Most of them are going to be passed down to the children of the current operators. They want to make sure that their farms are as productive or more by the time they are done with their career. So it's critical for them to help support projects that include sustainability. How do we keep up productivity on farms and improve soil health and looking forward to the next generation. Also, there's concerns about pest control. Of course, we always have Mother Nature throwing new things at us and trying to figure out how to work with those. The university scientists and researchers have been great about helping the industry figure out what are the things that are coming at us and how do we deal with those.
Yeah, fantastic, Mark. You hit on a bunch of really important points that I know are challenges for your industry and others. We pride ourselves at AgBioResearch on being responsive to needs of agriculture in the state of Michigan as a whole. The partnerships are incredibly important to us, as I know they are to you, and as you articulated. And we want to do our best to be responsive and meet your needs. So, kind of drilling down a little bit further, what specific outcomes or benefits do you expect from MSU research? How do we maintain that partnership? What do you expect from us as the state's land grant institution?
Yeah, we really appreciate the work that's going on in those directions. And a couple specific examples would be things like herbicide resistant weeds. Those are a critical importance to all of field crop agriculture, any agriculture in the state of Michigan today, when we're just dealing with some things that just seem to be throwing challenges back at us every time we look at opportunities to improve. Uh, Also dealing with other emerging threats. There's some opportunities that we see in some other states, benefits of researchers at Michigan State having collaboration with other universities, especially at least for soybeans throughout the Midwest, of seeing what's coming in our direction. And there's some examples of some insects that are found in other places that seem to be pretty significant to production in other places, as well as diseases. Uh, One insect pest is the soybean gall midge that's not identified in Michigan yet. An example of a disease is red crown rot in soybeans. And those are in states that aren't too far away from us. But in these cases, we have Dr. Chris DeFonso and Dr. Marty Chilvers that are right on that and in contact with their colleagues to know exactly how, maybe not exactly how we're going to control it when it gets here, but have the latest information on how to deal with these threats.
Yeah, really on point, Mark, and illustrates again another strength of the land grant system and land grant institutions. Our researchers collaborate, interact with scientists across the country. We have formal mechanisms to do that through our capacity funds and what are called multi-state research projects that sort of are a mechanism to stimulate conversations amongst soybean pathologists or amongst, entomologists that work in field crops like soybeans. So we do our best to sort of foster those type of interactions, and our faculty are just really pride themselves on being in tune with the challenges of today and the challenges of the future. So yeah, we can't solve every problem on our own, by our own, but being aware of the emerging issues and what's done in other states is important so that we can solve the problems of Michigan agriculture in a Michigan-centric context. So kind of along those lines, yeah, you've heard me talk a lot about the importance of the partnerships and how we all work together, and that Michigan agriculture really is special. And I believe that. I know folks like you and those that lead our other industries believe that. And we've got some really unique programs that are really great examples of those partnerships, like Project Green. So maybe talk for a minute, if you don't mind, about Project Green, its importance to the soybean industry, and how instrumental it is in helping your growers address short-term concerns.
Yeah, you're exactly right, George. We really appreciate Project Green, the funding from the state, as well as how that gets used in such a practical way. We really appreciate the opportunity to have some voice in what are the most important things for us as the soybean industry, to give that input to the researchers and have them consider that as they're developing research proposals. In addition to that, we've been able to use soybean checkoff dollars to finance some research in the state. And that's really been used really nicely as a collaboration or a complement to Project Green funding. So I think it's gone in both directions. Sometimes researchers will come to us with proposals and we'll fund things. We're not always able to do that on a level to get as much research knowledge as a researcher would like. But in a lot of cases, that is either used for seed money or vice versa, that we can use the knowledge that's gained on Project Green projects and then add a little bit to that. So I think it's been a great collaboration and a great way to combine the benefits of both of our programs to the benefit of soybean production in Michigan.
Yeah, great point, Mark. We talk about leveraging those investments, that is state investment, and how sometimes that's combined with industry dollars and can result in even bigger, better outcomes. I think another point of pride, which the plant agriculture community and general farm organizations share and are and should be proud of, is the overall economic impact of Project Green. The first 20 years of the program, it's now in year 27, the economic impact was over $2.5 billion for the state. And the state's investment, which is built into the funding lines for ag bioresearch and extension, is a little over $5 million a year. So that's pretty good return in my book. And I
Those
think
are
it's
impressive
something we can
numbers.
all be proud of, in terms of that kind of return. And I think one example of how research and extension has contributed to growth of our food and agriculture economy in this state to well over $125 billion a year. So that's a great long-term success story. We also have a new program which you were instrumental, along with others in the Plant Coalition, and help getting started, the Agriculture Resiliency Program. Tell us a little bit about that. Give us your perspective and share some insights on why this program is important to the future of the soybean industry in Michigan.
Okay. I think that goes back to the response to the first question, George, is thinking about farms as multi-generational
Mhm.
operations or businesses. So, of course, we have operators that want to make sure that long term their farm is very productive. And I think this is a program that does that, looks a little bit further out instead of what's happening today or next year. How are we ready, or how can we improve our situation a little bit longer term? Maybe some of these things take a little bit of some guesswork or looking at long-term changes. What do we expect to be coming down the road, and how do we respond to that with research? And we're really excited to be part of a program like that that can help us be ready for what's coming in the future, not just what's happening today.
Yeah, and all credit for the genesis of this program goes to our Plant Coalition partners. And I remember really well when Quentin Tyler, the director of MSU Extension, and I met with you all, and we had the conversation about what are the longer term challenges that are on your radar and what you're concerned about. And it was it was striking the uniformity in answers that, really thinking of the long term beyond the immediate challenges that may be commodity specific, the importance of soil health, building healthy soils, what that does for not just yields and productivity, but for resilience of our commodities in the face of extreme weather, how when the weather changes, that changes the pests and pathogens that our agriculture industries have to deal with, and then issues with water, how to use water more efficiently. And I know we have some scientists looking at tools to do just that in irrigation context, and then dealing with the water quality issues, which we all know are out there that are impacting waterways in the state of Michigan. And farmers are concerned about those issues just like the general public. And so, how to bring science into the equation and develop tools, technologies to reduce the impact of nutrient runoff and help our farmers be who are the first generation conservationists do more, already doing a lot, but doing more to help contribute to solving some of the problems with water quality, which are complex, not all attributed to agriculture in any way, shape, or form, but we're all in this together. And through research, long-term research, we can help develop solutions. And fundamental to all that, any new program, any new technology is it has to work for farmers, and it has to have a positive impact on their bottom line, especially now with all the challenges farmers are facing with input costs and costs of production and commodity markets right now. So the genesis of the grants program that was part of the new agriculture resiliency program was multidisciplinary teams, including ag economists involved in these projects, trying to develop these solutions and then tying it back to the field, hence the close partnership with Extension. Yeah. So we're really excited about that program. We hope there's opportunities for it to continue in the future. I know your industry and the agriculture industry in the whole of the state is very, very supportive of that. So, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, I think you had a couple of really good examples there, George, about the soil health issues. You're looking at soil microbes in the soil, and of course now there's plenty of new products that are available that growers are being marketed and trying to figure out which of those might be beneficial or which ones don't have a fit. What crops do they fit in? What
Mhm.
soils? Just as you said, really complex. And I think the example of keeping nutrients in the soil and not either washing through and going out tile water or just erosion from the surface are both really complex and wicked problems that it would be
Yeah.
really nice if we could just go back to the mathematical equations of removal and application of
Uh,
nutrients, but it's so far beyond that. It takes top-notch researchers to help us through.
Very, very complex. And we're committed to doing research that'll make a difference. So kind of continuing along those lines, but pivoting a little bit, I want to get your perspective on what, and I know our agriculture industries are very active in advocating for support for ag bioresearch and extension and the work we do. What would be your pitch, or what would you say to legislators to advocate on behalf of continued funding for ag research? And the second part of the question is, what would it mean to your industry to no longer have funding support from the state or the federal level for ag research?
Yeah, we look at research from the Michigan State University as critical to soybean production in the state of Michigan. We think that they have a significant effect on the yield of our soybean crop each year. And also, as you mentioned earlier, now that we're into a situation of being pretty close to the cost of production with the value of our crop, we need to make sure that we're economically sustainable and through these times we need to be as careful or more careful than we have been before. So we definitely appreciate the collaboration between multiple funding sources. We're willing to continue to invest in the research, but sure appreciate other sources as they're available.
Great. I know there's growing interest in creating what's called a circular ag economy, where growers can receive value for other products beyond what people typically think of. When you typically think of soybeans, you haul them to an elevator, you're paid by the bushel, and that's it. But the more uses there are for our commodities, the more value they'll have, and the better opportunities for our growers in the future, so that continued generations of people in agriculture want to continue in agriculture. And I know when I get to come to your board meetings, I always learn something new about uses of soybeans. So can you talk a little bit about that? What happens to your commodities, how they're used, and maybe some insight in terms of the future, what the future might hold, and things that perhaps Michigan State University could be thinking out about outside of the typical things we always talk about in terms of production research, which are still very important.
Yeah, sure. You're right. Really exciting new uses for soybeans on both sides. So when we think of soybeans, we think of generally two different product or two lines of materials. And one is the liquid part, that's a soybean oil. Lots of new uses for soybean oil. Many of those are uses as a replacement for petroleum oil. And so biodiesel, of course, is one big use of soybean oil in the US, and we really appreciate that market. And that has grown partially because of the demand for soybean meal. The dry part of the soybean after it's crushed is mostly used for livestock feed. And so when we had a demand of that, we had a little bit excess oil, and that has been really taken up a lot by the biodiesel market, and that's been great. We've also worked with some researchers at Michigan State looking at some really exciting things like the pet food market. Are there opportunities to provide soybeans are a high protein feed product, and it fits well into a lot of places. Sometimes it has some issues that we need to work through with research. So we really appreciate those kind of projects. Uh, I'm trying to think of other examples.
Yeah,
If there
that's
are
great.
some,
That's great. Yeah, certainly lots of opportunities there, and you shared some great examples, Mark. And who knows what the future will hold. Not necessarily through research at Michigan State, but the work on, is it asphalt and maybe the new firefighting foam. I'm just the
exactly.
creativity, the ingenuity that your industry is putting into place, working broadly with scientists to develop new uses for soybeans, really is just exciting.
Good points, George. It is really exciting to look at those opportunities, and especially in this time when we have issues with export markets, and
Right.
exports are critical to soybeans in this country. Throughout,
Uh,
we export about half of them, so we need to make sure that we keep those partners engaged and hopefully happy with the product that we provide.
and who knows, maybe the next exciting new use of soybeans will come from research at Michigan State.
I hope it does.
Yeah, we all do. So, Mark, any final thoughts or anything you want to leave us with before we wrap this up? It's been a great conversation.
I agree. I was hoping, George, that I could just mention a couple examples of some success of MSU research, and a
Please do.
couple of
Yes,
things
yes,
that
please
come
do.
to my mind are soybean cyst nematode research. We've worked with the nematologist at MSU, and she's done some great work. One of the challenges we have today is that we've got nematodes that are overcoming the resistance that we've used to control them for a long time. And so she's really helped us with new new sources of resistance in the soybean genetics. Uh, they offer some promise, but she's identified a challenge with that, and that is it's not quite as durable as we'd like it to be. So she has helped us understand that we need to make sure that we're rotating that source of resistance so that we don't have populations that now overcome what the two sources that are available to us. So that's been very beneficial.
Right.
We've also had great success working with uh, folks in weed herbicide resistant weed control, both on the side of control in the field. What kind of products are available that are going to control things that haven't been used in the past, as well as the diagnostic side. We funded some research and have been really happy working with Dr. Eric Patterson on his national work to look at diagnostics of weed control, identifying those problems, and even digging into which genes are causing those issues and maybe some future opportunities that we might be able to try to find some workarounds. Longer term research, these aren't things that are going to change the world tomorrow, but really exciting to see the expertise and the knowledge of MSU researchers and helping us at least have some light at the end of the tunnel that this isn't just a horrible thing coming our way. We've got some hope to look for in the future.
Yeah, fantastic. I appreciate you raising those examples. The number of tools farmers have in the toolbox to deal with challenges are shrinking all the time, and the problems are increasing. So you're 100% on the mark. And some problems, there's short-term solutions. Some take a little bit longer-term approach. And you gave two great examples of that, which are real life challenges in your industry. In the case of, herbicide resistance goes beyond your industry. And we've got some great people. Eric Patterson working on the weed science side, and Marisol Quintanilla, I'm on the nematology side, trying to address these important issues to the soybean industry. So yeah, thanks for raising those for sure.
Yeah. So I guess we just want to make sure that everybody understands our great satisfaction working with Michigan State University, and we really value the connection that we have. We appreciate how the leaders of MSU programs involve the growers and grower groups to help formulate future plans for the university, and really have put together a great group of researchers, and we really appreciate the support.